Have you ever wondered what really happened during the crucifixion of Jesus Christ? The pain, the prophecy, the purpose. There are so many layers to this story that are often overlooked. Today, we're going deeper into the events of the crucifixion, revealing details that might change how you see the cross forever. Before we begin, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Your support helps us to continue sharing the profound wisdom, insights, and timeless truths of the Bible. Also, ensure you watch this video till the end to gain valuable insights from the Passion of Christ, the events of the crucifixion. Let's get started. The crucifixion of Jesus Christ is one of the most well-documented events in human history. And yet, it holds so many spiritual depths that are often left unexplored. This wasn't just an execution. It was the fulfillment of ancient prophecies, the intersection of divine justice and mercy, and the ultimate sacrifice that changed the course of humanity. Let's start by understanding the gravity of what was happening leading up to this event. In the Garden of Gethsemane, just hours before his arrest, Jesus prayed with such intensity that his sweat became like drops of blood in the book of Luke chapter 22, verse 44. This moment revealed the emotional and spiritual weight he was already carrying, knowing what was to come. He knew he would face not just physical torture, but bear the sin of the world. It's almost unimaginable. Isaiah chapter 53, verse 4 foretold, "Surely he took up our pain and bore our suffering, yet we considered him punished by God, stricken by him, and afflicted." After his arrest, Jesus was subjected to one of the most brutal punishments known to man, scourging. Roman soldiers used a whip called a flagrum, which had pieces of bone and metal designed to tear into the flesh. According to Matthew chapter 27, verse 26, he was flogged and handed over to be crucified. This fulfilled another prophecy in Isaiah chapter 50, verse 6, where the Messiah would give his back to those who strike him and his cheeks to those who pull out his beard. This scourging wasn't just physical. It was symbolic of the weight of sin that was being placed on Jesus. As if the flogging wasn't enough, they placed a crown of thorns on his head and mocked him as King of the Jews in Matthew chapter 27, verse 29. The thorns pressing into his brow were a visual representation of the curse of sin. Genesis chapter 3, verses 17 to 18 speaks of thorns being a result of the fall. Jesus, by wearing those thorns, was symbolically bearing the curse of humanity. Now, let's take a closer look at the journey to Golgotha. Carrying the cross was no small feat. The cross weighed roughly 75 to 125 pounds, and after the scourging, Jesus was in no condition to carry it. John chapter 19, verse 17 describes how he started the journey, but when his strength gave way, the soldiers forced Simon of Cyrene to carry it the rest of the way in the book of Luke chapter 23, verse 26. The act of Simon stepping in represents how we too are called to take up our crosses and follow Christ, according to Matthew chapter 16, verse 24. When Jesus arrived at Golgotha, which means place of the skull, he was nailed to the cross. Psalm 22, verse 16 prophetically says, "They pierced my hands and my feet." The crucifixion was a torturous method of execution designed to bring about slow death by asphyxiation. As the body sagged on the cross, it became increasingly difficult to breathe. And yet, despite his agony, Jesus continued to speak profound words. One of the most striking moments is when he said, "Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing," as recorded in Luke chapter 23, verse 34. Even in the midst of his suffering, he was offering forgiveness to those who were killing him, a perfect picture of grace. Now, it's important to recognize the spiritual magnitude of what was happening here. This wasn't just a man dying a criminal's death. This was the Son of God bearing the sin of the world. 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 21 says, God made him who had no sin to be sin for us, so that in him we might become the righteousness of God. At that moment, all the sin of humanity, past, present, and future, was laid upon Jesus. The darkness that fell over the land from noon until 3 p.m. wasn't just a natural event, it was symbolic of the separation Jesus was experiencing from the Father. For the first time, the eternal communion between the Father and the Son was broken because Jesus was bearing the weight of sin. And then, after hours of unimaginable suffering, Jesus cried out, my God, why have you forsaken me?" in the book of Matthew chapter 27, verse 46. This was a direct quotation from Psalm 22, which begins with this desperate cry, but ends with a proclamation of God's victory. This shows that even in his deepest moment of despair, Jesus knew that his death was not the end. He was fulfilling the divine plan for salvation. At the moment of his death, Jesus declared, "It is finished," in John chapter 19, verse 30. These are not words of defeat, they are words of triumph. The Greek word used here is tetelestai, which means paid in full. Jesus wasn't just saying his life was over, he was declaring that the debt of sin had been fully paid. Every prophecy had been fulfilled, and the barrier between humanity and God was torn down. This is symbolized by the tearing of the temple curtain from top to bottom at the moment of his death. The separation between God and man, which had existed since the fall, was now gone. Through Jesus' sacrifice, we now have direct access to God. But the story doesn't end with Jesus' death. His crucifixion was followed by his glorious resurrection, the ultimate proof of his victory over sin and death. Romans chapter 6 verse 9 says, "For we know that since Christ was raised from the dead, he cannot die again. Death no longer has mastery over him." The crucifixion is not just a story of suffering, but of triumph, hope, and new life. Jesus' resurrection is the guarantee that through faith in him, we too can have eternal life. As we reflect on the events of the crucifixion, let's remember the incredible love and sacrifice that Jesus demonstrated for us. His death wasn't just for the people of his time, it was for you and me. John chapter 3 verse 16 reminds us, "For God so loved the world that he gave his one and only Son, that whoever believes in him shall not perish but have eternal life." If this message has touched your heart, subscribe to the channel for more in-depth teachings about the life and message of Jesus. Share this video with someone who needs to